Hello everyone. In this video we're going to talk about perpendicular lines. Specifically, we're going to talk about the slopes of perpendicular lines. So recap, perpendicular lines are lines that intersect to form right angles, which technically may not be at this specific angle. They might be slightly at a different angle, kind of like this. Two lines are perpendicular if the product of their slopes is -1. And I'll show you a couple of examples of that in a little bit. But a basic example would be saying, like, if I plotted a vertical line and then a horizontal line, that would be perpendicular. It's probably the most fundamental example as far as basic goes. You plot a horizontal line going through the y-axis and then a vertical line going through the x-axis. They will intersect at one point. Here I have plotted two different lines, one that goes up and one that goes down. The slope of this line is 4. The slope of this line is -1/4. And that's the key to understanding perpendicular lines when you graph them. The product of two numbers is -1 if one number is the negative reciprocal of the other. And that's the key to understanding perpendicular lines when we graph them, is understanding what a negative reciprocal is. So here's a couple of examples of how to find a negative reciprocal. If we start with a fraction, say -3/5, you're going to reciprocate the number, so you'll switch the top and bottom numbers. And then what you do is you take the negative of this. Since this is already negative, the negative of a negative will make it positive. So the negative reciprocal of -3/5 is 5/3. If you multiply these two fractions together, you'll get -15 over 15, and that results in -1. Here's one more example. If I have +2, the reciprocal of an integer such as this, particularly more specific, a whole number like 2, you start by finding its reciprocal, and then you take its negative. Since this is positive, the perpendicular slope, or in this case, the negative reciprocal, will be -1/2. So 2 times -1/2 is -1. That is how we find a perpendicular slope, and that is key to understanding problems like this. We may be asked the following: to find the equation of the line that contains a specific point, in this case 1, 8, and is perpendicular to a line given, in this case y equals 3/4 x plus 1. So we're given the point and the equation and perpendicular. First thing to do, let's find our perpendicular slope. So if the slope given is 3/4, remember, reciprocate and take the negative. So the perpendicular slope is going to be -4/3. Now that that's done, let's go ahead and find the equation using point-slope form. We have our point and our slope. All right. Next, we distribute. So here we have y minus 8 equal to -4/3 x plus 4/3. Last thing we do is add 8 over, but what I'm going to do is take a little fork in the road and come over here and do something called secret scratch work. We're adding a fraction and a whole number together. Remember, 8 can also be written as 8 over 1. Here's what we're trying to execute. 4 over 3 plus 8 over 1. Here's a trick. You want the same denominator when you're adding fractions with unlike denominators. So because this denominator is 3 and this one is 1, what you're going to do is triple the entire other term. So now I'm adding 4/3 and 24/3. And what's 24 divided by 3? 8. Adding these two together, because they got the same denominator, will be 28 over 3. And that will be my final answer. I'll just move it up here. Final answer will be y equals -4/3 x plus 28/3. That was a tough one. But in the end, we got, let me redo that to 3. In the end, we got the perpendicular slope from the one given, and we found the equation of a line that was perpendicular to the one given. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.